Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Wolves against Manchester United preview and your latest Manchester United news. The FA Cup third round is upon us and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is facing a huge challenge going into this game. Lack of resources, lack of tactical nous, and a team that we've struggled against. We have struggled at Wolves, and they are a decent team. I know they lost the last couple of games, but they are a decent side. They seem to be tactically able to do Solskjaer and Nuno, and I think it will be difficult. But first of all, I just wanted to bring this in. Very, very interesting. Some would say stunning stat against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's a lot of talk about how we have had our worst Premier League start to the season ever, and it's now in January, and that is still the case, and it could well be our worst Premier League season ever, the way things are going. But swallow this one. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as interim manager, won 10 games and in 13 Premier League games. 10 Premier League games he won in 13 Premier League games. So he won 10 out of 13 as interim manager. As full-time manager, he's won 10 games out of 29. So, I mean, look, you can see why he got the job. He won 10 out of 13. You can see why a lot of people are turning against him. He's won 10 out of 29. His points average is 1.34 as permanent manager. What he averages 1.34 points a game, 1.34 that is. And as caretaker manager, he was averaging 2.46. So you can see why the job was given to him, but you can also see why. Look, I'm not going to add anything more than that. I said that this morning. I've said what I need to say this morning, but it's not good. It doesn't matter where you sit on the spectrum of Ollie in out or shake it all about. It's not very good. It's not very good. Anyway, we've got this game against Wolves at the weekend, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's going to be under the microscope. You're under the microscope as manager of Manchester United anyway, of course you are. And there's a few interesting things I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about Pogba a little bit. Giggs has made some interesting comments about Lingard and Pogba as well. But let's talk about the game first of all, because Brandon Williams is the featured picture on the look-ahead thumbnail for this, and Brandon Williams has got to start in this game. I think that, look, as fans, you're going to get things wrong. And I think the great thing about the United Stand community is that I don't think anybody professes to be, look at me, I get everything right. I certainly don't. And I said that there's no way Lingard should have started against Arsenal. I would have started Greenwood over Dan James, but I would have started Luke Shaw. And in hindsight, Brandon Williams may have been a better shout. I didn't get that right, and neither did Ollie. But he definitely got three selections yesterday very, very wrong. And those three would be those three selections. I think Brandon Williams could have started. I think Greenwood should have started. And I think that Lingard never should have started. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because the three players he didn't pick that many people feel he should have picked, Brandon Williams, Mason Greenwood and Andreas Pereira, they're all young youth products. And we're meant to be about the youth. And we didn't do that, did we? We went with Luke Shaw. We went with Jesse Lingard, who, let's be honest, the joke is over now. He's not a young player with talents. He's a 27-year-old. It's a long time since he was considered a youth player. And Dan James, who was brought in. So that's rather interesting as well. But I think against Wolves, it's interesting, isn't it? Some people don't respect the FA Cup. Some people just put out their reserves. And I don't know whether Wolves will do that. I think in the third round of the FA Cup, you don't really have a major excuse not to put a strong team out. The only people who are playing midweek next week are Carabao Cup, us. Wolves won't be playing in that. So they've got a whole week before their next game. And, having said that, the Christmas period is quite busy. So some managers will use it as an opportunity to give their players a bit of a mini international, a mini break, really. Because if their last game was midweek for the new year, they don't play for a week and a half. So Wolves may not go with a strong team, but I think that Ollie will. I think Ollie is a manager that we've seen already that is desperate to succeed and doesn't have the luxury in his own mind to weaken his team to the extent that he can rest loads of players. And also I think the injuries that he's got in the midfield, the lack of quality and depth he's got in the attack, we know that certain players will play, such as Martial and Rashford will definitely start, because who else is going to start? I think Greenwood will come in and James will go to the bench, and I think that's the right thing to do. Into the midfield, I can't see him moving away from Matic and Fred, which, I'd like to think he'd play a Garner. I think he might play a Levitt, but there's no McTominay, there is no Pogba. So I think he will go with Matic and Fred for that. And he'll have to go with Matic and Fred against Man City. And you're always running the risk with Fred. I mean, Fred, how many minutes has Fred played over the Christmas period? He must have played every game. I think he definitely played against Newcastle. I think he played 90. Definitely played against Burnley. Definitely played against Arsenal. Playing him again, then Man City. I mean, Fred needs a rest. But Would he rest him in a game like this? I don't think he will. So I think we will see Fred and Matic. It's an opportunity to rest Wan-Bissaka and not play Luke Shaw. So I think Williams and Young have got to start. But centre-back wise, is Twansebi fit? I don't think so. I think Rojo's on his way out. And Phil Jones, he doesn't seem to want to play. And, you know, you can sort of understand why. So I think we will see Lindelof and Maguire with Romero coming in goal. Adel Altani says, Mark, I rarely disagree with what you say on the channel, but your criticism on Woodward on his handling of the Pogba situation is unjust. He signed a 5-year contract when he came. Unless he has a release clause, he has to play. I don't really understand what your angle is there, mate. I don't understand what your angle is there. You've got a player with in Paul Pogba who asked to leave in the summer, and Manchester United said no. That is their right. But they let Lukaku go and he had a contract. So, look, what I would say, I mean, Ryan Giggs was asked this about Paul Pogba. He said, do you see Paul Pogba being a United player next season? He said, no. And that's right. Paul Pogba won't be a Manchester United player next season. He will be a player here till May. I think the risk with Paul Pogba is that he has got this injury now and he is going to have this operation, and I think we did rush him back. But I think we've mismanaged the situation as a football club terribly. That's my opinion. You've obviously got a different opinion to me. But I said it at the end of last season, we should let Pogba go. And it wasn't malice and it wasn't hate. It was a total mature and honest assessment of the situation that Paul Pogba started at Manchester United when we were in the Europa League. He's been here 3 years. He's been brilliant at times. He's been inconsistent at times. And I felt that after 3 years, we're back in the Europa League. The experiment hasn't worked. Let's get a divorce. Let's let him go. Let's get the money and rebuild. That's what I thought was the mature thing to do. Pogba obviously wanted to go, and he made that clear, and Manchester United made the decision that no, there won't be a mature divorce where we take the money and we reinvest it into 2 midfielders instead of one inconsistent one. We will force that inconsistent player to stay, and they've paid the price for that because 1, we left ourselves weak in the midfield, and 2, you've got a player that doesn't want to be here, that any little niggle will not play, and that is his right. And Manchester United have mismanaged this situation, and I feel that, and this is only my opinion, we mismanaged the situation because Ed Woodward and these cronies around him are inept and unable to deal with the transfer market efficiently. And having bought Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire and it taking most of the summer to sign those 2 players, they in no way had the time or desire to sell Pogba, which would have been another big negotiation, and then try and get 2 players in as well. They just didn't have the time or the ability to do it, and we have paid because of that. I'm not disputing that Paul Pogba has a role in this, but Paul Pogba made it very clear that he doesn't want to play at this football club anymore, and United decided they would force him to stay, and they've paid the price. It's always a risk. You know, I think they hoped Pogba would think, well, you know what? I'm just going to crack on for the year, do my best and get a move next season. But not everybody does that. Sir Alex kept it going. Nothing now. The board been found out. Says Card Pat Cravings. Why does it take to change players are literally not choosing his going to lesser teams? If that made sense to anyone else, thank you. But thanks for the contribution. Humza Rahman says, Mark, do you think there would have been a different outcome to the Arsenal game yesterday had Bruno Fernandes played instead of Lingard? Well, look, the Bruno Fernandes thing, and I'm a massive fan of Bruno Fernandes, the Bruno Fernandes thing is gone. United messed that up. He isn't coming to Manchester United. I wish he was. But to be honest with you, you playing at number 10 over Lingard yesterday may have done a better job. He was abysmal. Mojo says, Mark, some news I read about, we thinking of signing Norwich midfield Bendia. What's your opinion on this? I've not read about that, Mojo. I think we're going to get linked to a lot of players in this transfer window. Make sure you're tuning into our transfer daily every morning, and we have shows throughout the day when news breaks. Obviously, we've had stories about Longstaff and Emre Can today. But just going back to Lingard, I mean, Ryan Giggs did make some comments that I've read today about Lingard as well as Pogba, and said that when you compare Lingard to Ozil, the way he was coached and the intelligence he's got, did a very good job for United. Lingard didn't, which effectively is a nice way of saying that Lingard lacks the direction from the coaching staff and the intelligence as a player to play that number 10 role. And it's only what you have been saying for a number of months now. Jesse Lingard is not a number 10. I don't think he's a winger either. I don't know what he is. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a footballer. He has his traits. And I think I would question how high a Premier League level he is. I mean, is he even good enough for an Everton? Probably not. Is he good enough for a Bournemouth? I don't know. But he's certainly not good enough for Manchester United. And he's certainly not a number 10 because, as Giggs alluded to, Jesse Lingard does not have the intelligence to play at number 10. And, not a lot of players do. As a number 10, you're looking at your De Bruynes, your David Silvas. You're looking at these players who can pick the ball up in space, keep it close to them, and thread a pass. And Jesse Lingard's not that player. Jesse Lingard likes to spin and run into space. He hasn't... there was a point yesterday, and I wish we could show you clips on here because we can't. There was a point yesterday, quite early on, it might have been 0-0 at the time. Jesse Lingard spins, run at the Arsenal defence. Dan James has made a really good run. The ball needs to go only 5 yards, about 3 yards ahead of Dan James to run onto. He could hit it first time, but definitely get a touch out his feet into the box and get a shot away. He rolls a pass at virtually a 90-degree angle that Dan James has to stop to collect. It's basics. It's under no pressure. It's a 5-yard pass, and he can't do it. He does not have that ability, and this is a guy who is 27. He is not a number 10. And the fact that Ollie thinks you can play him as a number 10 is massively concerning. And I agree with Giggs, and I think everybody would agree that he doesn't have the discipline or the intelligence to play the number 10 role. But as I said, I sympathised with him yesterday because he has been getting a lot of stick. He's not a very good footballer, but he doesn't pick the team. And Andreas Pereira should have played there because he's the best number 10 we have. And I think he's got his limitations as well. Is Van Persie right in saying Ollie lacks authority, says Eminem? I look at Manchester United and I honestly would say this. Manchester United, to me, they're untrustworthy, they're complacent, they're inconsistent, and they lack motivation. That is abundantly clear. I see Jesse Lingard coming off the pitch yesterday after his umpteenth poor performance, and all I see is a smiling Ollie tapping him on the back and looking to give him a hug. And I think, look, that is a management style. Another management style of Ollie's is to say, we're going to be good in the future, there's going to be more ups and downs, but stick with it, we'll be good in the future. This management style of arm round the shoulder, will be all right in the end. It's a very submissive management style, and I think Manchester United are suffering because of it. And I think Robin van Persie is basically saying that there is not an authority, there is not an accountability. It is just go out there and try your best, and if it doesn't work, we tried. I think this team needs a rocket up the arse. I think this team, when I hear that the team love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I don't think that actually is the positive thing we want to hear. Do I want Manchester United fans to love the manager? No. I want them to be scared of the manager, I want them to respect the manager, and I want them to respond to the manager. Whether they want to buy him a Christmas card or go on holiday with him is irrelevant to me. I don't care whether they're his mate. And I think there is a happy medium to this, but I think United are untrustworthy and are inconsistent because there is no accountability. There's not really any fear in the squad, and I don't know that I don't think they respect the coaches. I mean, Michael Carrick very recently was playing with them. McKenna was a youth team coach. Mike Phelan, I don't really know much about him, but he's not really been in management for a long time. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is an ex-youth coach to some of these players, and he doesn't have the CV or the authority. And I think that, to me, is a very important thing. Fear. And you're comparing Sir Alex Ferguson to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is like comparing a caviar dinner to cold beans on toast. They're different ends of the scales here. But you listen to a lot of United players who played under Sir Alex Ferguson, and I think it was said about Van Persie as well that if I think Sir Alex Ferguson said to Scholes and Giggs, if you can't find him, you won't be played. Like Van Persie, if you can't find him with the ball, I won't pick you. Ruthless, fear of losing in that Manchester United team under Sir Alex Ferguson, fear of drawing. There was a total fear in that team to not perform because the manager wouldn't accept it. And I don't think there's any fear in that United team. And I think that's why when things are going well, they look really good. When things go wrong, they just bottle it. And that's the honest truth with United. So in this Wolves game at the weekend, I think much of it depends on how strong Wolves go. It wouldn't surprise me if United win, because then all the Ollie inners will be back going yes, and all the Ollie outers will have to go quiet, and then we'll get stuffed by City and it'll flip around. I think Ollie's here till May. I think we all know that, and I think that we are going to see this inconsistency. And inconsistency doesn't get you top four, and inconsistency can be a risk in the cup. But I think United suit cup football because I think United will actually get a result against Wolves at the weekend. I'm not going to predict the score because people will say you've jinxed it. It may well whether we get a draw. I don't know whether we get a replay out of that or it goes straight to penalties. But I can see United getting a result because I've got a funny feeling Wolves historically don't pick a strong team in the FA Cup. And with the Europa League and the League, maybe Wolves won't go as strong as they could do. Because I think if Wolves went with their strong team, we would be in trouble. But they may think, well, United are susceptible. Let's rest a few players. So I think that we might get something out of that, and that would be typical of United because as much as we know that they're quite bad, we also know on their day they can beat anybody. Is it true we're looking at Ronaldo? Says Dean is. Not heard that at all. Zayn Miassi, Mark, Andy Robertson is only on 60k a week at Liverpool and Shaw is 180k a week. Why does United pay high wages but at the same time doesn't want to spend on players? Just a poorly run club, to be honest with you. All of Ollie's signings have been crap. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the best of the lot, but would he have got into our lineup 5 or 6 years ago, back with Raphael in it? Says Nihal Rio Shabiali. I think that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a very good signing. I've got to say that. Abdullah says, Mark, if we get Poch in the summer, do you think the board will give him enough time to turn the ship around? The reason to my question is because we gave Ollie so much time. I don't think it will be the same with Poch. Abdullah, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is protected by his status of being a former Manchester United great. I think that's why he's in the job. If you look at what he's actually done, he would be gone. If his name was David Moyes or Jose Mourinho or Pochettino, he'd be long gone. And that's only an honest reply, isn't it? I mean, worst ever Premier League start to a season, tactically clueless, and some of the team selection, some of the things he said. He gets away with it because we love him. And the club like the fact that they've got somebody that gives them that protection. Hi, Mark. Do you think Ollie is scared of being too harsh on the players due to not having the squad depth to drop them and give someone else the game time? Says Luke Powell. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job is very difficult, Luke. I think it is very difficult. But I think that I said when... Look, I wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to get the job, so I'm never going to, go against that and say I said I didn't want him to get the job. I wanted him to get the job, but I did say at the time, and a few people said it as well, that the risk with Ole is we need to keep the momentum going. He got the job off a ridiculous 3 months as caretaker manager. It was amazing, and I do remind myself that on a regular occurrence. We were brilliant for those first 3 months, and he got the job because of that, and I felt that was the right thing to do. However, my fear was that he would be so desperate to get the job because he's a fan like me and you. I'd do the job for £100 a week. I'm sure you lot would. But Ollie's so desperate to get the job, he's so grateful when he gets the job, that he automatically falls into the pocket of the Woodward and Glazers of Manchester United. Now, I feel that what Manchester United need, when they're on their knees, which they are at the moment, they should be going to a manager, and that manager should be saying, I am not taking this job because you would destroy my reputation, and you are not doing that. And then United say, well, what would it take for you to get the job? And they say, well, I want these wages, but I also want 300 million guaranteed over the next 2 transfer windows. And I also want rid of this and this player. And I want that in writing, or I'm not going to take the job. That's what United needs next. It's not even necessarily about who the manager is, because you could go Pochettino or 4 or 5 others. It's about the next United manager cannot take this job in awe of Manchester United and just be like, oh, it's Manchester United, I'll do it at anything. I'll do it on a budget of, corn and magic beans. No, they've got to do it on their terms, and those terms have got to be really strong because, whoever's going to make Manchester United successful, if that's even possible, they are going to need a lot of money to do it, and they're going to need the freedom to do it. So that, to me, was always a concern with Ollie, because he almost tied one arm behind his back straight away. And I hoped that his momentum and ability in the first 3 months would be enough to negate that fact. But let's be honest here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when it comes to transfer activity and everything, he ain't banging Woodward's door down saying, get me this, get me that. He's saying, please, Ed, can you get me this? It'll make me better. Because he took the job because he was desperate for it. And you can't knock Ole for that, but we need a director of football. We're probably never going to get one. So we definitely, if we're not going to get a director of football, we need a strong manager who basically comes into this club and gets given assurances, which Ole hasn't got, which Mourinho didn't get. I think Mourinho was desperate. The thing is, Mourinho, 10 years ago, or even after Sir Alex, Mourinho would have been perfect for our club. But we got a great manager who was desperate for a second chance. And again, he didn't come into United with big terms. He just thought he could do the job on whatever they gave him, and it wasn't enough, was it? Imagine talking about a rebuild like Ollie does. Then yesterday, 2-0 down, 10 minutes to go. Mata comes on for Matic. You couldn't make it up. Yeah, well, Jordan, I have said that a few times now. I don't really. Well, look. Let's be blunt. I look at a lot of what Manchester United do, and they contradict themselves all the time. We're meant to be. Well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said in the summer, I don't miss Lukaku and Sanchez because I've got Gomez, Chong, and Greenwood, and they're all ready. We're now in a situation a few months later where Lukaku and Sanchez have obviously still gone. Greenwood's played a bit, and Gomez and Chong, where are they? He's still picking Mata. He's still picking Matic. We're still using, if we're absolutely honest here, I think the love for Ollie and the desire to believe what they say about future and youth and style of play sometimes blinds you to the reality that this football is worse than Jose Mourinho or Van Gaal ever played, and a lot of people said that was boring. We are still picking the same deadwood players, the Ashley Youngs, the Matiches, the Matters, the Lingards. They're still all here, and they're still playing a lot more football than the young players are, and a lot of the youth isn't coming through. I mean, look, Brandon Williams has started to play a bit, Greenwood started to play a bit, but when you're still picking Mata and Matic and Young and Lingard, well, where is the evolution of this squad? Is it all talk? And a lot of it is, I'm afraid. Raised in Manchester, California resident now, have Manchester United tattooed, love United, but truth be told, have been struggling to get up early to watch this current team. Do you feel connected to this squad, says Stuart Wallace? An incoming manager should also demand a director of football that has control over transfers, says Gordon Murray. Well, exactly. And I think Grealish is a BTEC Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders. He's only good because he's playing for a poor team, says Zayn Miassi. Yeah, but you could flip that the other way. I said that before. Grealish versus Maddison. Maddison's doing it with a lot better players around him, in a team that's not struggling. Grealish is doing it in the same league with worse players around him in a shit team. I think in many ways that suggests that Grealish is the better player, but that's just my opinion. That was a very interesting question from Stuart Wallace. Do you feel connected to this squad? Look, I'm not going to name names, but there's a few people who have messaged me, some good friends, saying that they are fed up of watching Manchester United. And me, I'm always somebody who says, look, we can't go anywhere. This is our club. We can moan, we can be vocal, we can hope, and we can try and bring about change because we love the club. But I'll never not watch United. But honest answer, a few people are saying this, that they're fed up of the team. They do feel disenchanted, disassociated with it. They can't relate to it. I've got to say, I do understand that. I think that for too long, supporting United over the last 6 years has been hard to figure out, understand. Like yesterday, I was bewildered by the selection of Jesse Lingard. I didn't understand it. And you can have a player that you don't really rate, i.e. for me, I don't really rate Matic, but I can't be a pretender. And I like Luke Shaw, and I like Rashford. But yesterday I gave Shaw and Rashford a really low score, and I said Matic was one of the best players on the pitch, because that's an honest opinion. And I don't like Matic as a footballer, and I like Rashford and Shaw, but honestly, yesterday he played well, they didn't. So I'll always think, well, I might have a bit of an agenda against the player, but I can understand why he's done that. I didn't understand what he was doing with Jesse Lingard yesterday. And somebody actually messaged me today and said, do you think I think it was on the previous show we did at lunchtime, do you think Ed Woodward's picking the team, and the reason Lingard gets picked is because of social media requirements with Adidas, because he's the pin-up boy? And I said, well, no, that's ridiculous. That's definitely not happening. But you do start to get those weird thoughts in your head, because a lot of what Manchester United do is weird. I mean, Jesse Lingard, I know we're mentioning him a lot, and that's a bit unfair, but he is world class off the pitch. He has got a massive social media following. He does have his own brand line, and he is the face of our new kits and everything like that, and he's very good at that. And the mind does start to think, well, is this why we keep playing him? Because to be honest with you, if he didn't have 1 million or however many followers on Instagram, and he wasn't Jesse Lingard, the English player, and he was Jesse Lingardino from Brazil, he would be another Brazilian flop at Manchester United who we'd have got rid of 2 years ago. So you do start to feel a little bit disenchanted and a little bit manipulated by the fact that some people who keep turning up in that shirt shouldn't be in that shirt. And you could take it away from Lingard and you could say, well, Juan Mata. I mean, look, Juan Mata nearly set up a goal for us in the last 10 minutes yesterday, but Juan Mata is blowing out his arse after 10 minutes. He's not a starter. He's been gradually getting worse for the last 3 years. There's no future in it. We had a chance to let him go last summer and we gave him a 2-year contract with the option for another year. I don't think he'll even be able to kick a ball in 3 years, let alone have an extension. He never should have been kept at the club. But they kept him because to let him go would have cost them 40 million at least to buy a replacement. So this is Manchester United. And look, so many people are saying it. I wouldn't bring my client to Manchester United. They'll ruin anybody. They're a business. They're not a football club. And that you know, this is the club that we support, and it's hard. It's really hard. But you know, we can't go anywhere. But the situation is not a good one, and I think a lot of people are waking up to that now. That the situation is not a good one, and the solution is not an easy one, because everybody in power at that club are a contributor to the persistent failure. So, you know, it's not like if there's going to be an election, the people running that club and who own that football club are part of the problem, and that is the problem. And long term, at the moment, if I give my honest answer, long term, I think this is going to get worse. I think it can get a lot worse, and I think it's going to get worse. I don't see it getting better because. And look, I just look at that club and I think the talent in that club is young and they need leadership and they haven't got it. The coaching is inexperienced and not good enough and they need leadership and they're not getting it. The main controller of that club is an ex-banker who's been proven to be poor at his job. He's not going to get any better. The owners don't know anything about football. They're there just to take money out of the club. Like, I keep saying this and a lot of people do. Manchester United, whether you're United till I die, whether win, lose or draw, stick with the team, or whether you're somebody who just is a realist and moans about it even though you love the club, it really, in the end, it doesn't matter because that club, from top to bottom, is out of control and there is no prospect of any leadership coming in because there is no desire to change it because everybody wants to keep hold of their piece of the pie. They don't want to relinquish it. The reality is there's people in that club who, for the good of the club, should say, I'm not good at this job, I'm going to walk away so these people can come in who do know what they're doing. That's not going to happen because those people are so protective of their bit, they don't want to walk away. And there's so many areas. There are so many areas. If you speak to people within the club, and obviously I can't name names, but Manchester United is a massive club. I couldn't even tell you how many people they employ with so many different departments. But it's all a mess. It's all a mess. I mean, there was a rumour coming out of United today that they're so ill-prepared that today they've called all their scouts and everybody in because they're desperately trying to sign a midfielder in January. Like, hello? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, September, October, November, December. I mean, most kid knows how a calendar works. January transfer window, we've known about it for 4 months. We're now desperately getting people in to try and find midfielders. I tell you what, why don't you just phone up on our call-in? I'll put it out to the live comments, and within seconds you will get 7 or 8 really good, viable midfield options that are gettable in January. You're going to have to spend on it, but those options are there. And I feel that this is not only a reflection of the board and the recruitment department, it's also a reflection of the coaching staff. Because I think if Pogba was fit and McTominay was fit, we would not be signing a midfielder that we need to sign. Herrera and Fellaini went and did not get replaced. Regardless of fitness to Pogba and McTominay, we don't have enough quality in the midfield. We play 3 midfielders. We don't have enough depth in the midfield. And I think that we are now looking for midfielders because of the injuries, and we should have been prepared for it anyway. But all I can say is everybody I talk to, and I talk to fans, and I talk to people who know people, and I talk to journalists, and the general consensus is that Manchester United Football Club, United fans would cry if they knew how badly they were actually run. It is not a coincidence that this football club is getting worse and worse and worse with the way it is run. And, you know, that I can only reflect to you what I get told. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And there is one word that has echoed throughout United this season. Ollie uses it a lot. And us as fans are having to use it. Hope. Well, hope's not a strategy. It isn't. Hope is not a strategy. Hope will win you games every now and again. Wimbledon in 1988 went into an FA Cup final against a very good Liverpool side with hope. They won 1-0 and they won an FA Cup. It was a fairy tale and they won it. But hope is not going to win you Premier League titles. It's not going to win you the Champions League. Manchester United cannot rely on hope. And I saw something today and I think it's absolutely spot on. Why is it a challenging January transfer window for Manchester United? They have got so much money, it's virtually impossible to fail. But these plonkers in charge persistently, consistently fail, despite having the resources to comfortably be challenging for titles every year. And this is what I say. We are the Juventus of England. We are the Barcelona and Real Madrid of England. We are the PSG of England. And you look at those clubs in their countries, every year they're fighting for titles. Manchester United should be fighting for titles every year. We've got the resources. We've got the revenue. We've got the money. It's almost impossible to fail. But we fail because we don't release the money as much as we should. And we've got idiots in charge. Rooney's just got an amazing assist, says Charlie Welsh. Abdullah Atani says, why are United fans still fantasising about Ronaldo? He's 35. How's he going to help us? He's on the decline. Also, Ronaldo would be crazy to come to Manchester United. Ronaldo is a player that wants to score goals. You know, look at poor Anthony Martial. It's just not going to happen with Manchester United, is it? It really isn't. Mark gets told inside information by his imaginary friends, says light heavyweight. Well, mate, you can believe. I don't believe. I don't really care what you think. What I would say is that the United stand started off with 100 people watching. We've now got 610,000 subscribers. Hundreds of thousands of people watch our videos every day. And unfortunately for you, United stand has grown massively and the community is actually respected. And there are a lot of people who contact us, whether that's mainstream media, people within the club or not. But one thing I always do is, and always have done, is been respectful of the information that I get. Because I really value the community that we've got, and that's what we've built. What you believe, you can believe. I don't really care, but I know what this channel is, I know what this community is, and I have no reason to lie. I never have. Damn, one midfielder, not enough, Mark. I am thinking like a Liverpool fan now. They supported their club for 30 years. This is what keeps me going, says Almaj Cosman. Andy Barnes says that Liverpool signed Van Dijk in January. It can be done. Well, Man City signed Laporte in January as well. There's a lot of January signings that have been done. I would say that Manchester United would, if they don't sign any players in January, will finish this season much like they did last year, empty-handed and not in the top four. Thanks for the first response, being very direct. What do you believe is the realistic breaking point before Ollie is sacked? Also, do you believe the Glazers would realistically accept an offer for Manchester United to Stuart Wallace? I've been told that there is no prospects that Manchester United will be sold in the immediate future. And with regards to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being sacked, I mean, I'd love to give you an answer on that one. It's not something that I would I've actually thought about in great depth. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's in the job till the summer. I think they're going to spend money on him in the January transfer window. And I think if you spend money on somebody in January, you don't sack them in the summer. So I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be our manager in August. The only way he will be sacked is if he goes on some ridiculously bad run. But because we're in the Europa League, I don't think there is a run he can go on that will get him the sack. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I'll paint a scenario for you. Wolves at the weekend. Look, whether we win that or not, it's only the fourth round of the FA Cup afterwards. So you can always write that one off. Man City at Old Trafford next Tuesday, we get stuffed. Norwich, we beat. And then I think our next game is Liverpool away at Anfield. So Liverpool beat us, which I think a lot of people will expect. And at that point, I would imagine it's still the worst Premier League season we've ever had, start-wise. He loses at Anfield badly. Why would you not sack him? This is exactly, Mourinho got sacked for that. He lost at Anfield badly. So why would you not sack him at that point? I don't think they will. I think if we lose a load of games and we get knocked out of the Europa League, he could get sacked. But I don't think the club are even thinking about doing this. They still... And when I talk about how badly we are run, why do you think that these people are anywhere competent enough to have a plan to sack a manager and bring another one in? The reason we're failing is because of the people who run the club. So why would you think they're going to make a decision that's going to be good for the club? They don't understand football as well. So when Solskjaer and everyone else is saying we're getting better, then they believe it. And there's still people on social media now. I was reading somebody today who was saying that, you know what, when you actually look at United since the last international break, we have acquired a lot of points. We are definitely playing better. Only people who don't want to see can't see the improvement despite losing to Watford and Arsenal. And you think, you know what, there are people who genuinely think we're getting better. I can't even be bothered to argue with them, because all I want to say is, look, I want to believe you. I want to believe positivity, but I have got eyes, and I don't see our formation or our philosophy or our style of play changing since the opening day of the season. I don't see this vision. Rojo, Jones and Bay outspend the money on Koulibaly. This would help Maguire as he could move back to his natural position on the right, says Damien Landy. I think if Twan Sebi was fit, I think we'd see a different Maguire. I think the lack of pace and physicality really doesn't help Harry Maguire from Lindelof. You are right that it could get a lot worse than what it is right now. Imagine selling Pogba and spending it on two midfielders. Again, net spend very low. Then what? No players left to sell to manage the net spend, says Mojo. And Jordan Search, Mark, let's be honest, if a midfielder did come in January, it's odds on it will be someone like Longstaff or Declan Rice, because they play in the Premier League and they have a British passport. Well, look, if people haven't watched the Transfer Daily video I did at lunchtime, why not? You should be watching it. But to repeat what I said there, why would we be looking for suspect, mediocre, potential players like Longstaff and Declan Rice, who are in their early 20s, when this team lacks leadership, pedigree and experience? Those signings make no sense to me. So yeah, if Emre Can comes in, I'm slightly optimistic because it's the right profile of player. And there's probably better players to bring in, but United should be looking at 25 and above. Between 25 and 27, experienced players with a pedigree. That's what we should be looking at. Now, why are we not looking at them? Is it because Ollie doesn't want players that might see him for what he is? Or is it because the board don't want to spend the money on a more experienced player and a younger player is cheaper? Whatever it is, those things are flawed. We need experience and we need leadership. Because leadership isn't always, oh, they've been a captain before. I think Emre Can has been a captain, but that doesn't make any difference. See, the reality is he's experienced, and United need 3 or 4 players like that. No, come on, we're Manchester United. You're saying because we're in Europa League we can't sign players. We only need 2 to 3 players to seriously challenge. It's not as bad as we think it is, says Abdallah Al-Thani. Hello, Mr. Positive. And Stuart Wally says, thanks again, Mark. I love the channel. Keep up your great work. I find myself watching more and more of your content than the actual team these days. They don't seem to be as hurt, as frustrated as we are, and it drives me nuts. I think on that, Stuart, I mean, I can only speed. We do need experienced Tyrone films. The United stand for me, I don't know what it is to you, but for me it's therapy. I think, I said this to one of my mates over Christmas. I said, if the United stand didn't exist, I don't know what I would be doing. Because being able to talk to people and look at the live comments and the comments and talk about what's going on at Manchester United as fans, it's a therapy session. It's a fantastic community because the club are so detached from the fans. The players are so detached from the fans. And I'm not talking about their social media skills. I'm talking about what they're doing on the pitch. It's hard to relate to. So this community and the United stand, to me personally, is massively helpful because it doesn't make us better on the pitch, but it certainly helps us to vent and communicate our concerns and our worries. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. Right, thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. I just want to show you something, and don't worry, you don't need to get too worried. I want to show you something. It is hopefully going to work. The link is in the top line of the video description, and it's the United Stand website. It launched about a week before Christmas. We did put some content up there to just sort of test it. It is now up and running. There's lots of content going up on there all the time. As you can see, we've got a story about Dembele, Jedson Fernandez, Grealish and Maddison, Emre Can, a decade of Manchester United. There's absolutely lots of content going up on there. If you're interested in writing for it, if you've done any writing before or you want to get into it, contact us through the contact page on the website. So that's one thing. But there's lots of stuff on the website to keep you up to date with Manchester United. So start using it. But the thing I like the most is if you go to latest content, you can get all your latest videos on here as well. We've just put one up about the Blood Brothers there, episode 5. But if you go to this page as well, not events, socials, you get all the United Stand social posts, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, that's on there as well. And you can also do this, which is a page I really like. It's the timeline of what's going on the page, where you can stay up to date. And as you can see, we put out an article about half an hour ago about Dembele, a video, article there, video at lunchtime. So check out the website, get involved with the website if you want to, but certainly make it part of your United Stand day, because we've got a website now and we're looking to grow that a lot over this year as well. Mark, do you think if we don't invest in January, then Ollie is definitely gone in May? Should be asking Poch who he wants, says Chops How. I think if we didn't sign anybody in January, that would be a very interesting point. But I think United are trying to sign in January, to be honest with you. Please do smash a like on the video. I will tomorrow morning, I forgot to say this, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference for the Wolves game. I think we're going to learn a lot more about Pogba and transfers in that. So join me at 10 o'clock. I'll be live just after 10 o'clock for that. Transfer Daily tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. That will be going up as well. So you can get up to that daily, Monday to Friday. And obviously any transfer news will go live. I might be live again tonight. Sometimes at around 10:30 news comes out. I could go live then. So make sure you're subscribed, bottom right hand corner. Smash a like on the video. I'll speak to you all later. Thanks to everybody tonight. Again, it's been a bit of another therapy session, hasn't it? But the cold, harsh fact is, it isn't good at United and we need to keep talking. Check out the website too. Speak to you soon.